I'm Swanson Gibson Jr., and this is iPulse Live for October 18th.
And I'm Delaney Smith. If you thought the hurricane 2 weeks ago was bad, you were right. It was estimated Hurricane Helene left between $30 and $50 billion of damage. But then came Milton, beating everything that came before. Allison Wallace reports.
Hurricane Milton was the second hurricane us Floridians have faced so far just in the month of October. Milton had winds of up to 74 miles per hour. Category 5 winds were measured on October 7th, and as of Friday on October 11th, this hurricane had at least 14 casualties, with 2 million people without power in Florida. Milton dropped about 16 inches of rain on St. Petersburg, continuing with a handful of fatalities. There was wind gusts of 100 miles per hour near Tampa, with the flash flood emergencies being stated. St. Lucie County Commissioner discusses the aftermath of Hurricane Milton.
Yeah, I've been here since 1983, and I've never seen anything like it. We had, according to FEMA, 12 confirmed tornadoes hit throughout the county, and literally from one end to the other. They were hitting down on our Becker Road area, which is on the southern. They hit around the airport, which is right in the middle of the county, and where the worst damage is in the northern part in the Lakewood Park area. It went through a golf course community and then through the trailer park where the deaths occurred, and not most of the damage, but a lot of damage occurred.
As you can see here, Tropicana Field was destroyed, leaving many sad and devastated over their beloved field. The stadium, home of the Tampa and Bay Rays of Major League Baseball, became unrecognizable by the Category 3 storm winds. People are still recovering from the mess of Hurricane Milton. I'm Allison Wallace, reporting for iPulse Live.
That was the second hurricane, Hurricane Milton. But Hurricane Helene drew a much large swath of the Southwest from North Florida all the way to South Carolina. While the damage was being assessed, parts of Florida were hit with tornadoes. Some of the utter devastation from this was caught by a car's camera.
Wednesday, October 9th, an EF2 tornado tore through the Mariner Sands community in Port Salerno, ripping homes to shreds.
I was underneath that debris. I was underneath that beam.
George Bastillo was pinned down when his home collapsed. The twister captured on his car's dash camera. Bastillo, his wife, and their dog taking cover inside their house.
There was 1 second explosion. Everything goes into the house, all the windows, everything, all the force of that tornado comes in, and the next second, the whole roof collapses on me and I'm pinned.
He says neighbors helped get him out with a jack propping up debris.
That's got to be the only place in the whole house that I would have survived.
Bastillo's home of more than 10 years is no more. Debris thrown everywhere, rooms visible from the streets, and part of his roof is in the pool out back.
Very few walls stayed up.
Bastillo not only losing his home, but also his Harley-Davidson, damaged beyond repair, as were a lot of their possessions.
This was my man cave.
He's not dwelling on the loss of his home, though. He's just happy to be alive.
I have scratches and bruises and everything hurts, but I'm alive. My wife is alive and my dog's alive. I'm a lucky man. All I can do is move forward and have a good attitude.
Bastillo tells me he's hoping to rebuild. But for now, his family is renting in the area while they figure out their next moves. He's sharing his story to help others impacted by this tragic storm.
Because it could help others, and it could maybe give them some strength and hope, and it's never that bad. And so as long as you have life and love and friends and family, that's what really matters.
Even though his family lost it all, he plans on counting October 9th, the day he nearly died, as a second birthday, another chance to live.
From now on, I'm going to celebrate one of my birthdays 1 year from the tornado. Just very lucky to be alive, and I'm very happy to be alive. I built the bar, and the bar is the only thing that survived in this whole thing. Very proud of that.
In the Middle East, Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar has been killed by the Israelis. Sinwar, the architect of the October 7th massacre in Israel, has been killed according to the Israeli military. Here is Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Citizens of Israel, a year ago we celebrated Sukkot. At the exact time, Yahya Sinwar was making final preparations for the October 7 massacre. I stand before you today to inform you that Yahya Sinwar has been eliminated. The person who committed the most terrible massacre in the history of our nation since the Holocaust, the mass murderer who murdered thousands of Israelis and kidnapped hundreds of our citizens, was eliminated today by our heroic soldiers. And today, as we promised to do, we came to account with him. Today, evil has suffered a heavy blow, but the task before us is not yet complete. To the dear families of the hostages, I say, this is an important moment in the war. We will continue with all our strength until the return home of all of your loved ones, who are our loved ones. This is our highest commitment. This is my highest commitment. And to the resident of Gaza, I say, Sinwar ruined your life. He told you he was a lion, but in reality, he was hiding on a dark den, and he was killed when he fled in a panic from our soldiers. His elimination is an important landmark in the decline of the evil rule of Hamas. I would like to say again, in the clearest way, Hamas will no longer rule Gaza. This is the beginning of the day after Hamas. And this is an opportunity for you, the resident of Gaza, to finally break free from its tyranny. I call on everyone who hold our hostages. I call on whoever lays down his weapon and return our hostages, we will allow him to go out and leave. And in the same way I say, whoever harm our hostages, blood on his head, we will reckon with him. The return of our hostages is an opportunity to achieve all our goals, and it brings the end of the war closer. To the people of the regions, I say, in Gaza, in Beirut, throughout the entire region, the darkness recedes and the light rises. Def, Hania, Sinwar, Nasrallah, Mohsen, Akil, and many of their associates are gone. I'm calling you, people of the region. We have a great opportunity to stop the axis of evil and create a different future, a future of peace, a future of prosperity in the entire region. Together, we can repel the curse and promote the blessing. Now it is clear to everyone, in Israel and in the world, why we insisted on not ending the war, why we did insist, in the face of all the pressures, to enter Rafah, the fortified stronghold of Hamas where Sinwar and many of the murderers hid. I would like to express my deep appreciation to the IDF and Shin Bet fighters and their commanders for their determined and courageous action. There are none better than them. Today we clarified again what happened to those who hurt us. Today we once again showed the world the victory of good over evil. But the war, my dears, is not over yet. And it is difficult, and it exacts heavy prices from us. I wish to express my condolences from the bottom of my heart to the families who lost their loved ones. I want to hug the families of our fallen heroes. Their supreme sacrifice, including the last few days, brings us closer to victory. As King David said, I will pursue my enemies and destroy them, and I will not return to their end. Citizens of Israel, we are in the resurrection war. Big challenges are still ahead of us. We are required for long patience, for the unity of the ranks, for courage, for a firm stand. Together we will fight, and with God's help, together we will win.
President Joe Biden reacted by saying, Sinwar's death was an insurmountable obstacle to achieving peace. That obstacle no longer exists, but much work remains before us. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said, Yahya Sinwar has been eliminated by the IDF. Sinwar's death ends a reign of terror. But Hamas leader Mustafa Barghouti says the death of Sinwar has exposed Netanyahu even further.
Well, I'm afraid that what happened is not really compatible with what the Israeli side is saying. I think they were looking for a photo of victory or an image of victory, but Sinwar gave them a different image. And the fact that they distributed the images of his body, which is something that is unacceptable by all terms, has revealed that he was fighting. He was not hiding in a tunnel, as Netanyahu claimed. He was not hiding behind Palestinian civilians, taking them as human shields, as Israeli propaganda used to say. He was not hiding behind Israeli prisoners or captives, as they also claimed. He was fighting. And this image will make him look like a hero for most Palestinians and most Arabs and most people who are against Israeli occupation and against the oppression that Palestinians are subjected to. So in my opinion, Sinwar one more time has failed the Israelis. He has failed their intelligence. They couldn't get to him. He, not only on the 7th of October, but during the whole last year, and they admit that. And he fought. He was courageous, and he was not a coward, as they claim.
The campaign is now in full swing. More than $619 million have been spent on political ads in the U.S. since the beginning of the race. And at least $248 million of it focused only on the presidential race. But no one can accurately predict how much more money is dark money, hidden from you and the press. So the numbers are all squishy, but it's clear the debates are getting a lot of viewership. Here's a sample.
Kamala Harris's advertising campaign had an enormous task ahead of itself: turn her from an unknown vice president to a president in the public's eye. The first step for that was to show who Kamala is.
The one thing Kamala Harris has always been: fearless. As a prosecutor, she put murderers and abusers behind bars. As California's Attorney General, she went after the big banks and won $20 billion for homeowners. And as vice president, she took on the big drug companies to cap the cost of insulin for seniors.
The Democratic campaign also focuses on trashing former President Donald Trump by mentioning his Project 2025, a 922-page document written by his supporters that includes proposals such as monitoring women's pregnancies,
requiring the government to monitor women's pregnancies, and severe cuts to Medicare and Social Security. Donald Trump may try to deny it, but those are Donald Trump's plans.
As for Donald Trump, the Republican candidate is trying to turn his image around from that of a convicted felon to a victim of the system.
The only crime that I have committed is to fearlessly defend our nation from those who seek to destroy it.
Trump's campaign also highlights his main agendas, such as closing the border and ending inflation. As his Hall of Fame coach says,
"Listen, America needs Donald Trump now more than ever. He'll secure the borders, end inflation, make America great again."
Like Kamala Harris, Trump also has dedicated ads to trashing his opponent, such as a video of him dancing while mocking Kamala to a Spanish chant. I'm Erna DeLise for iPulse News.
Now into one of the most anticipated films of the year, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. It was incidentally released 36 years after Tim Burton's original 1988 cult classic. This sequel has stirred up significant excitement and expectations among both die-hard fans and a new generation of viewers. Veronica Romano reports.
My name is Veronica Romano, and today we're diving into one of the most anticipated films of the year, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Released 36 years after Tim Burton's original 1988 cult classic, this sequel has stirred up significant excitement and expectations among both die-hard fans and a new generation of viewers.
I think it's a great film, but it's not necessarily the cult classic that the original Beetlejuice was.
I don't think it led up to my expectations just because I thought the first one was so much better and I expected so much more.
At least it lived up to the expectation of a movie coming back. Now, did it excel it in any way? No.
In terms of elements that were included in the first film, making a return in the second film, I absolutely did adore them bringing back the playset and just the overall aesthetic of the town.
I enjoyed that they used the same music from the first film.
Seeing Hell again and seeing Hell out of the Sandstorm, those are the two major impacts for the recurring for what they did from the original.
They did really good on the graphics and the art.
I do think it really does recapture the essence of the universe, simply because it's as I said, you know exactly what you're in for once you see the set pieces, once you see the characters, and especially once you see Beetlejuice again.
I love it that they they did their original role even better than they did in the original time. Like I even felt like they didn't just kill it, they did amazing.
I think there was just too much going on.
The movie plot, I'll give it, I'm gonna say a 5 out of 10.
The movie's plot, I would rate it like probably 6 or 7.
It's definitely has a lot of plot holes. You have 4 or 5 different stories going on at the same time.
I wasn't entertained. I enjoyed like when Beetlejuice showed up and stuff. I just think it was such a slow startup of the movie that it just kind of lost my attention.
And I just want to see what I came for, which is Beetlejuice.
Pretty much just the nostalgia of the first one. It was kind of just bringing it back to life from when I was younger, and seeing it again in the movie theater was just a really good experience.
I think this film piggybacked a lot off of the first film, mostly purely based off of nostalgia, because it knew like, oh, the target audience from around 30 years ago, they're gonna obviously come back and see it as an adult.
I don't think the original could ever be implemented the same.
I think the first one will always be the best one.
But no, I definitely don't think it lived up to the original.
I don't think in terms of the having an impact like the first one did, no. Because that's not the film's fault, I think that's purely because it's not the same audience. It's not 30 years ago.
I definitely think the first one had a stronger impact.
And there you have it, a mix of nostalgia, excitement, and varied opinions surrounding Beetlejuice. Whether it meets the high expectations or not, one thing is clear. This film has sparked conversations across generations. As it continues to unfold at the box office, only time will tell if it secures its place alongside the original. This is Veronica Romano reporting for iPulse.
Now it is time for a new segment on our show called Life with Lisette. Although Lisette is one of our reporters and is somewhat quiet in public, she has some strong pet peeves that she is open about. Recently, she expressed how much she finds a child crying in church annoying.
I cannot stand when there is a crying child in church. I attend Nativity Catholic Church located in Hollywood, Florida, and every time I go, the whole experience is disrupted by a child crying. According to the Archdiocese of Miami, Nativity Catholic Church can fit up to 1,200 parishioners. This means the church is very big, and it is echoous because of the stained glass windows and hard surfaces. So every time a child cries, the unbearable noise echoes. In addition, the child seems to cry during the holiest moments of the Mass. For instance, the holiest moment for us Catholics is when the priest blesses the Eucharist, which is a wafer made out of wheat. This ritual is called the consecration, and during this time, everyone is kneeling, they are praying, and they are silent. This moment is so holy for us Catholics because we believe that it turns into the body of Jesus Christ, which gives us everlasting life and salvation. Well, during the consecration, a child cries, which echoes throughout the whole church. It has certainly distracted me from praying. All of the 1,200 parishioners can hear it. And you know what the parents do? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And the priest has to carry on, pretending he cannot hear it in order to carry out the ritual. A Texas parishioner said, quote, "Most churches are so desperate to get bodies in the door, they won't attempt to instruct parents in how to behave. They'll say, it's just a crying spell, and she'll get over it in a minute. But if it happens week after week, it means the child is exerting control," end quote. According to St. John Chrysostom, who was an early church father, he said, quote, "Nothing so becomes a church as silence and good order. Noise belongs to theaters and baths and public processions and marketplaces. But where doctrines are the subject of teaching, there should be stillness and quiet and calm reflection and a haven of much repose," end quote. Sometimes a child throws a tantrum because they want to go home, they're hungry, or they just don't want to be at the Mass. So for parishioners to have a holy experience, the parent needs to take the child out of the church in order to try to calm them. At the end of the day, it's not the child's fault. It's the parent's fault because they need to be the one that's in control and in charge of the child.
Now you may find many of the United Nations announcements boring, but let me suggest you read their Sustainable Development Goals. What does this mean? Well, world leaders came together in 2015 and made a historic promise to secure the rights and well-being of everyone on a healthy, thriving planet. They came up with 17 goals, and we think number 5 will be really interesting to you. It's gender equality. Our podcast reporter, who goes by the name The SoFlo Girl, reports.
Hi, my name is Alana Ronjanone, aka the SoFlo Girl, and today we're focusing on one of the most crucial sustainable government goals, Goal 5, gender equality. As a young advocate for women's rights, I want to dive into something that affects millions of women worldwide: violence, discrimination, and human trafficking. These issues aren't just numbers, they are real stories, real lives, and they need our attention. When we're talking about gender equality, we need to stress 2 key targets within Goal 5. Goal 5.1 calls for an end of all forms of discrimination against women and girls everywhere, and Goal 5.2 demands elimination of all violence against women, both public and private settings, including trafficking. Let's break it down. Discrimination can be subtle, hidden in everyday interactions and violence, while it can be even more hidden, sometimes behind closed doors and sometimes in front of our eyes. But trafficking is a growing global problem. Women are being bought and sold and exploited, and it's basically modern-day slavery, and we need to talk about it. Women face discrimination in every corner of the world, even in places we think are thriving. But what's important is that we keep pushing back. We can't let these stereotypes, whether it's the workplace, at home, or even in politics, define us. Gender equality isn't about laws, it's about changing mindsets. That's right. We need to break these stereotypes, like the idea that women are less than capable, less than deserving of leadership roles, and that they're defined by their looks. And then there's violence, which is more often hidden but equally devastating. According to the latest statistics, over 70% of all human trafficking victims worldwide are women and girls. And while progress has been made, the numbers are still rising in many regions, and that's why awareness is key. Women across the world are rising up, fighting for their rights, for justice, and for equality. From movements to global campaigns, we are seeing a shift. Women are speaking out louder than ever and demanding a change. That's what this podcast is about: empowering women, amplifying their voices, and breaking down the barriers that hold us back. Gender equality is not just about women's issues, it's a human issue, and we need everyone on board. Gender equality is not about fairness, it is about progress. Societies that value women are stronger, more innovative, and more peaceful. We need to get rid of these harmful stereotypes. That starts by having these conversations. So what can you do? First, listen to these stories, share them, talk to women in your life about these issues. Second, change the stereotypes when you see them, whether it's in the media, at work, or in your own communities. We all play a role. And finally, support organizations that fight trafficking, discrimination, and violence against women. Together, we can achieve Sustainable Government Goal 5. We can create a world where women are free from violence, where discrimination is something from the past, and where everyone, regardless of their gender, can reach their full potential. Thank you for watching this important video, and make sure to subscribe for more. I'm Alana Ronjanone. Thank you.
This concludes our broadcast day. Good night, and God bless America.
And that's iPulse Live for October 18th, 2024. I'm Delaney Smith.
And I'm Swanson Gibson Jr. We'll be back in a week at 2 p.m. with another edition of iPulse Live. You can follow iPulse 24 hours a day by going to learnipulse.com and looking on iPulse page on Apple News.